Let's now speak to the South African Union of Students National Spokesperson, Asive Dlanjwa, who joins us now via our video link. Asive, thank you so much for your time. Of course, you've been listening to what our reporter has been saying. Just give us a sense in terms of, from your vantage point, what are the reasons behind students not wanting to vacate that particular residency? We're hearing, of course, that management wants everyone to vacate, given the fact that, you know, the classes have been suspended in that institution.
The sense that we are getting, and also having engaged with students, is that there is an obvious reluctance and resistance to vacate the university for a number of reasons. Number one, if you are going to move abruptly from contact learning to online learning, it will obviously have a negative impact on students, number one. Number two, the university has not necessarily prepared to cater to do teaching and learning online. And therefore, the notion that they are suddenly going to move overnight from contact learning to online is false, number one. Number two, it's a lie. It's misleading community and society. In fact, it is to try and diffuse a situation of their own making in a very cheap and uncoordinated manner. The other thing is that the reality is that, as we have seen even in other institutions, and this is why the students are reluctant, that as soon as they leave the campus, they lose their bargaining power, and the institution almost forgets about the issues that the students that in fact the university must deal with. And then after 2, 3, 4 weeks, they just said students must come back without having dealt with any of the issues that the students had been complaining about. So the reluctance is justified based on historical evidence.
And let's get to the bottom of those complaints. I mean, Asive, these protests have already resulted in the death of one person. The university says he was not a registered student. The Minister of Higher Education told us that she spoke to, well, in fact, in the statement released, that she spoke to the family, who said that he was in fact a student. I mean, what can you tell us, firstly, about the person who was shot and killed, and perhaps also unpack the living conditions that students are facing in this one residency, for instance, which led to the mobilization of these protests in the first place?
Number one, as we must rubbish, and we want to rubbish the conversation and the distinction of who lost their lives within a public institution. It is lazy, it is lunacy, and it's uncalled for that within a public institution you would want to distinguish which type of life was lost. Life has been lost, that's the bottom line. We knew, as we said in the beginning, that that person is a student in the university. Evidence has hence come to the fore to further reinforce that that person is a student. The council, I believe, today of the university also confirmed by saying that the student was in the process of re-registering. We must understand the life cycle of a student. You are a prospective student, meaning that you are a stakeholder in the university. You become registered, and registering is a process, meaning certain processes must unfold. While those processes are unfolding, you're still a stakeholder within the institution. So, and then you become an alumni. So the student was in the process of registering to the extent that they had even paid last month monies that they were owing such that they could register. So there's no question as to whether they were students or not. And it is regrettable that the university and even the department played to this gallery of wanting to distinguish as to which type of life should have been lost at Walter Sisulu University. It's absolute nonsense, and we must clarify that. On the issue of the challenges that the students are facing, there has been a myriad of issues as far as the state of safety, the living conditions that the students were being subjected to the extent to which they could not live nor participate effectively in teaching and learning. whilst living in those accommodations, because there was no issues of hot water, that the infrastructure had been dilapidated, and that all other accessories that are needed and equipment for them to be able to live was not present, including but not limited to stoves for them to be able to cook and etc. So there's been many challenges that the university has been aware of and has neglected to deal with, probably for the last few months at the Walter Sisulu University.
Yeah, and I mean, Asive, just talking about those living conditions, I mean, some pictures have circulated on social media just showing the dilapidated state and the deterioration of some of those, accommodation and the conditions thereof. What is of concern are these reports that are also circulating that, in fact, these are conditions that were accredited by the National Student Financial Aid Scheme, and this has been circulating on social media and in some parts of the media. But can you, given these are not obviously, these are just reported, we have not confirmed this with NSFAS, but I mean, how concerning then would it be if indeed some of these accommodation have been approved by NSFAS?
I am telling you now, it's a fact that those accommodations are accredited. They are accredited because the students had been living in them and that NSFAS had been paying. So it is true that they have been accredited. Why? Because there is a rampant corruption in the sector that we have been bemoaning for the longest of times. Corruption that involves university officials, NSFAS officials, and these many service providers that have been appointed by NSFAS. There's a litany of service providers, criminal syndicates. We say they are criminal syndicates because empirical evidence suggests that wherever these service providers come, corruption is often and always uncovered, as it was with the disbursements of allowances. So this criminal syndicate has perpetuated a corruption whereby residences that should not be accredited are accredited, not only in Walter Sisulu, across the entire country. There's accommodation that no human can live in, and yet they're accredited, and the state is paying for students to live under those conditions. And even prior to NSFAS accrediting, universities themselves had accredited those student accommodations because students had been living there prior to 2023 and 2024 when the accreditation process began. So there's generally no sense of commitment from universities and NSFAS to ensure that our students are living in conditions that meet minimum standards, that protect their dignity and allow them to participate effectively in teaching and learning.
Asive, thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate it.